So I wanted to share what's going on right now. So currently, if you're just tuning in, I've been talking about police misconduct in Alamance County. More specifically, Gibsonville. So some of y'all may have seen a video where I insulted the sheriff, Alamance County Sheriff Terry Johnson. And some of you might be like, well, this guy is a prick, referring to me. And then you might, well, what does this guy do with anything? So let me tell you. So as I've explained and as the video shows, for those who actually understand the law, I was attacked by an officer in 2022, August 7th, 2022. And I'll never forget it, by the of the Gibsonville Police Department. Now, this wasn't random, I can tell you that. Prior to that, I had issues with this department, but I didn't really know what to say. They weren't that, it wasn't that bad, but it was more annoying than anything. And so I explained about how that happened, and then kind of like leading up to this, leading up. When I say this, I'm about the events of August the 7th. Basically, I didn't want to. I told an officer at the park that I was looking for my wife, that we had a small disagreement. He didn't see her, and I went home. Long story short. Then he came home. He came to my house, no lights on, nothing indicating he's servicing a call. So, for those who don't understand, when police legitimately are dispatched to a domestic disturbance like what he claimed, was really what all he did was use what I told him to justify that BS. They normally come in too, and their lights are activated, red for emergency, and then the blue just to let you know they're servicing a call, the little strobe type lights. None of that occurred. Pulls up to my house, Mr. Turner, why were you running? Explaining to get home. And then he asked me, what were you and your wife arguing about? None of your business. That likely aggravated him, because I turned around, the next thing I know, he's attacking me. Of course, he turned off his body worn camera while talking to the Elon Police Department because he had radioed for backup. And so, as I've explained, that the call log showed that there were no calls that night at all concerning my house or anywhere near my house. And then because I reported this to EMS, because they were like, "It's weird that there were no calls." So this guy, the police department, the officer submitted he submitted officer notes and made them look like a dispatch, and so the dispatchers have a similar screen as an officer. Officers, and I'm aware of this because I studied and took classes. So this, and I had questioned it before, and then my lawyer admitted it, who didn't defend me in court. So that's just the gist of everything. So now what I'm dealing with, so I end up, so just for everyone to get caught up. So in the district court, the officer admitted that he wasn't responding to a crime when he came to my house. He admitted that. He admitted that when he decided to handcuff me, that he didn't have a legitimate reason. He says, while trying to figure things out, in order to arrest somebody, first of all, you have to have probable cause. Now, when you're at a person's residence, their home, or the curtilage being anything that is surrounding the property, you have to have a warrant. You can't just handcuff people and arrest people without a warrant. And now there's this thing called hot pursuit, which if they saw you commit a crime, then they can follow you because the crime started outside. But again, there was no crime, and so the officer would have needed a warrant in the first place to arrest me. if he suspected me of committing a crime because I was at my residence. So, long story short, that was BS. So then there's the appeal. So for the first district court, hired Don Dickerson. Second, I hired John Cox. And they didn't tell me they're Facebook friends with the police chief. So the Gibsonville police played a video. They played a video where the assistant police chief, Rebecca Dixon, she's now at the Stoneville Police Department, and I'll get to that in a minute, where she's telling witnesses to lie. Now, Jeff, we need you to help our officer, as they're in the interrogation room. And so then he starts, Jeff, he's a neighbor, but like it's not a neighbor in the sense that he lives across the street, or he lives down the road, probably not a quarter of a mile, like maybe a tenth of a mile down the road, to where there's nothing, even if there was a struggle, there would have been nothing that he could have seen. But anyways, he lied and said I fought the officer for 20 minutes and that me and my wife are always fighting, and which is untrue. As a matter of fact, we've only had 911 called on us twice, legitimately. Once here in Gibsonville, after the neighbors discovered I was biracial and started using them to harass us because the neighbors had ties because they had government positions and knew everybody. And the other time in Chapel Hill, we don't have a history of domestic violence. We never have. But now all of a sudden we're this like problem. No, I'm not a problem. I don't have an issue with anybody. I only have an issue when people lie. But anyways, this is like, since I've been seeking accountability, I've been made out like I'm an issue, and people that are commenting don't understand how the law actually is supposed to work. And so Gibsonville, they've done all these, they've banned me from the town. I went to the town, and I've been advocating for myself. And I'm not making this up. The lawyer that was there told them to ban me. So I have a federal lawsuit against the town and the Gibsonville police for fabrication of evidence. So I can't go after the charge because I pled guilty. But again, I only pled guilty because my lawyer wasn't defending me, because I didn't know about his relationship with the police chief, and because they were these lying ass witnesses, and I didn't want to risk going to prison for something that I didn't do. And so for me, it was easier to plead to something that I didn't do and overturn it than to fight it, knowing that Jeff and his family was going to lie and not be called out. So that's what I did. And so since then, I have I filed a civil lawsuit against Jeff for lying. But you can't really say it's lying. You can't sue him for his testimony because it's protected, and the courts do this so that way they can't be punished, which I think is BS, because you get situations where you have people like Jeff and his son and the other guy, whose name I don't know, saying stuff that completely was untrue. Claiming they lived across the street to make themselves appear closer. Nobody lives across the street. It's a damn shed. And I've said this numerous times. And so I took Jeff to court, and the magistrate refused to hear the evidence. And the evidence that I had would prove that he was lying. But you can go after them for what they do before, like outside of court, like giving a false statement to police. They would not hear that, but this is why Jeff is listed in the federal complaint as a contributing factor. So normally, just so you guys know, you can't list a regular person when you file a federal lawsuit. You can only list like government agencies. But because the agency conspired with him and his family, he counts as an actor. He's not just an independent witness. The fact that he lied. So that's what I got going on. But the magistrate refused. He dismissed the case when I sued Jeff for giving a false statement. And this family has been harassing us. Now they haven't done it. They haven't done it in the last maybe month and a half, which has been great, you know. But what they were doing, which posted, is driving outside of our house with the quads, being loud, flashing their lights in our windows, and it was so bad that my kids cannot sleep like in their own rooms. They actually had to sleep in the living room with us because they're afraid. And the Gibsonville police acknowledged that we were being harassed, but would not charge him. And so it is my theory that they won't charge him because it undermines his credibility. So basically, I have evidence to support that they're all kind of in cahoots together. Like the DA, well, at least the ADA. So I don't have anything on the DA, Sean Boone. But I can tell you this: these ADAs weren't just acting. They weren't just doing this stuff for no reason. They were likely being told to, given orders by Sean Boone. They're not that smart. This case where this all stemmed from was easy to prove that I was innocent. I should never have been charged to begin with. And then I reached out to Sean Boone. I've been reaching out to him for like 2 years, and he's ignored me. And this is called willful ignorance or something. He's intentionally avoiding addressing this. And I reached out to him while this was going on, and he ignored me. So he's going to be named in a federal lawsuit at some point as well. And so now there's the SBI. So I've been reaching out to the SBI since this started, like 2023. I started reaching out to them. They gave me all these excuses and runarounds. But I'm going to be honest. I have sources that tell me that the SBI has agents that are related to the Alamance County Sheriff, Terry Johnson. And so they criminally charged me, the Alamance County Sheriff's, the SBI. They criminally charged me with misuse of 911 because I had called 911 to report the harassment that Jeff Reese and his family was doing. I did use profanity, and that's what they were trying to base it on. But yeah, my daughters were being harassed. I was being harassed, and mainly I was being harassed, but it was scaring my kids. And so I've called our Congress. Richard Hudson is my congressman. At one point, it was Valerie Fucci. This is what I was told. I had that interview up. Her office didn't want to do anything. And this is what you get across the states. These Congress that have the ability to do something choose not to when it comes to government misconduct. But then you have people like Congresswoman Deborah Ross come out when Gwendolyn White shot those lawyers. And again, I don't condone what she did, but I understand the frustration of being harassed and then our government protecting itself. She condemned it, saying, "Well, we need to deal with shooting laws." No, I mean, this woman didn't have mental illness. She was abused, from what I can see, and probably lost hope, and shot those lawyers. And again, like those, while I do not condone the act, Those lawyers were not innocent. They were representing a police department that was violating her rights. So I understand. Somebody made the reference, no, I'm not going to do anything like that because I have too much to lose and I don't want to harm people. But I am sick of the way I'm being treated, the way my family is being treated. And I know there's always going to be somebody to come out and like just make an excuse. This is the exact problem in this country. Our government leaders their whole role is to serve the public. By ignoring complaints about government misconduct, they're not serving the people. By cherry picking what they want to talk about, they're not serving the people. Like Congresswoman Deborah Ross, who talks about who can call out the people that did all this stuff to girls in the Epstein file, where it's socially safe, but she won't talk about the misconduct that's happening in North Carolina. That's the stuff I'm talking about. We have Josh Stein, who ignored me when he was the Attorney General, just like Jeff Jackson is doing, who's now as a governor still ignoring me. You know, like they come out and they talk about how they're trying to help the public, but what they're talking about, I'm not being impacted by. My family's not being impacted by scams or whatever. We're being directly impacted by government misconduct. Let me explain to you the real world effects this has had on my family. So when I was criminally charged, I lost my job. I was making about $80,000 a year. I didn't work for 2 years, so if you do the math, let's just round it to 70. That's $140,000 that I lost. That's just wages. Now, when you factor in what I paid for the lawyers, Don Dickerson, I paid him $1,500 to represent me when this first came out, because I got charged with resisting arrest, assault on an officer, and child abuse. I paid him $1,500 on a case where I should have never been charged. He refused to gather the evidence or do any meaningful thing. Yeah, he took my money. Now, stupidly, I hired him again for the appeal. But then, hoping that maybe I was wrong and I was missing something. Some of the same stuff was going through. Wouldn't gather the evidence, so then I fired him. So he kept all of my money, but $800, and then tried to lie his way, and then he just made up all these new things that we never discussed. I filed a complaint against him. Nothing was done. And there's a direct admission that I was innocent. But he wouldn't say that in court or do anything to prove my innocence. So that's $5,000 plus $1,500 is $6,500. Then there's John Cox. I spent $4,000 to hire him. So when you factor in, so between him and Don Dickerson, so that's $4,000 plus what did I say? $6,500. It's about $10,500, something like that. And then you factor in all the money that I lost just from losing my job. That's 100. That's 140, 50. That's 155,000. And then if you factor in the money that I lost in the stock market, so Palantir, I had about 20 grand worth of that stock. $15 an hour. $15 was the average share price. It went all the way up to $195. That's a lot of shares. That's like I don't even know what kind of return that is, but it's over a 10x. And then you factor in the covered calls because I was buying and selling it, and then like this was with Don Dickerson. I had to sell out to pay him. And then there's TSMC. It was worth 160 when I bought it. I had about 10 grand in that stock. Right now it's sitting at about almost $500 a share. So I lost nearly I would say nearly $1 million just when you add up those fees. And then the Camaro that I was working on, that I was restoring, had about $20,000 into that car. Now it's sitting underneath a car. Now it's under a tarp, unfinished and starting to rust. And then there's my credit. My credit was wrecked because I lost my job. I tried to hold off, but I just couldn't let my car go back. That cost me over $4,000 on that car now. My credit went from a 720 all the way down to like a 500. Massive drop. And so the credit cards that I was good on, I had to let go back. I had to let default. So I'm still working on paying all of that stuff down. We're not even back to break even yet. I mean, we're close, but I still have to undo the credits. My credit is about a 630 now. It took me 4 years to rebuild it for something that I didn't even do. And then I have to go online and have all these people, it's actually less now, but people defending the police, because they're brainwashed. Well, you do whatever they say no matter what. It's freaking terrible, man. Now going back to Alamance County Sheriff's Department, Terry Johnson, I believe, had me blocked. I know I'm blocked from the Alamance County Sheriff's Department, and I believe that he likely is tied into other stuff. That if Ron Parrish was called out, would implement him. This is my personal opinion. So that's why I think I was blocked. And so when I went up there, I knew the answer I was gonna give. They were gonna redirect me back to the same system that doesn't work, because I had filed FOIA requests and I was ignored. So that's why I called him out. And maybe to some people I could have been more respectful, and that's true. But I really wasn't thinking about being respectful, as my children are still recovering from the harassment that we've dealt with and the traumatization. Well, I'm not thinking about any of that, as I have been asking for accountability for years, when it's clear as day that we're innocent. And I see police officers that are harmed in the line of duty. Other agencies change their badge numbers, their profile pictures to show the badge. They just did a manhunt, a multi-state manhunt for a guy that killed a deputy. But I can't get any investigations into evidence that clearly establishes wrongdoing. This is the problem. And so no, I don't care about being nice to people. I care about being lawful, but I don't care about hurting people's feelings, because nobody cares about my family, the stuff that we've been dealing with, and we're still dealing with it. Like, yeah, the harassment recently stopped for the most part, but I still have to see the guy that lied for the police, his family, and they have suffered no consequences. Our mayor, Bryant Crisp, parades around like everything's all good, knowing while he knowingly took part in banning me from the town for raising concerns. So I would say no. The town, I'm not happy, and this town sucks. Alamance County is corrupt, and more people are starting to see that. And this is my update.